From climate change to war to supply chains, being able to get good food at affordable prices is no longer a sure thing for us. Well, our next guest has found an interesting inspiration for a solution. Eleanor Boyle is the author of Mobilize Food, Wartime Inspiration for Environmental Victory today. Eleanor, so nice to have you with us. Thank you for coming
Gloria.
in.
Lovely to be here.
How did you even get interested in this, what they were eating in wartime?
Yeah, war was not my first interest in research. I had been researching food systems, by which we mean agriculture and diets, to ask how can they be healthier, how can they be more sustainable? And my husband and I were in London, England on a holiday when we saw that a museum had an exhibit called the Ministry of Food, and it turns out that was the government department in World War II Britain that was set up to assertively and systematically try to make sure everyone had enough to eat during the war, because war tends to wreck food systems. And I was very inspired. I thought, I'll bet there are some lessons here for us today.
Right. Well, before we get to the lessons, we've got some posters that are circulating in behind us here. What was the messaging of the time?
Well, shifts had to be made at every single level, from lowering imports, because those ships would be torpedoed in the English Channel, to getting farmers to produce more, to getting householders to dig up their backyard, grow whatever they could, eat more potatoes and less bread, because bread was based on wheat that was coming into the country. Potatoes could be grown in your backyard. So really the messaging was to rally everyone to recognize the crisis and to recognize that by shifting the way they ate and handled food, they could help the war effort.
Right. Rationing means fair. Okay. Share for all of us as well. The carrot is the child's best friend, that kind of, because you could grow potatoes and grow carrots. Now, what about this one? This is an interesting poster from wartime.
Well, this is a favorite, so I brought this along. For a healthy, happy job, join the Women's Land Army. And some viewers may have indeed heard of the Women's Land Army. So part of the rallying of all citizens was to get women to come out from their jobs in the city and help bring in the harvest on farms to again increase agricultural productivity so that the country could eat as much local as possible, local healthy food. And many, many thousands of women came out. Some people had never seen a cow before, but came out to work on farms and join the movement. And it touches me because I think we have a bit of that today in the whole movement, especially of young people who are working allotment gardens, who are working on local farms, who are animating farmers markets, who are trying to localize our food system. And it really is one of the things that we need to do to improve our food system.
Well, and you said it yourself, there are lessons from what they experienced during wartime, lessons for us today. What kinds of lessons?
Well, Britain in World War II really just wanted to make sure everyone got fed, because you can't win a war if you're hungry. And they wanted to win the war, which early in World War II, it was not at all clear that Britain and the Allies were going to win. That's one of the reasons that they made sure that everyone is rallied to the food movement. So their aim was to win a war, but what they ended up doing was having everyone eat more local, more plant-based, and with much, much less waste, which kind of shocked me when I discovered it, because that's part of the definition that we use today for sustainable diets. And that's why I feel that even though their aims were not environmental, it's very relevant to today.
Well, and you make a really good point. There is a movement to grow more food in your own backyard. A lot of people went that way, especially through the pandemic, you know, digging up their plots and growing their own food, being less reliant on the system. But we like our avocados, we like our pineapples, we like our bananas and that type of thing. How do you change that kind of mentality?
Yeah. Wonderful point. And we also love our meat. And one of the things they did is they ate less meat, and that's part of the food movement today, is to try to get people to moderate their meat intake. It's all about not making a 100% shift. We don't have to completely stop eating pineapples. We don't have to completely stop eating meat by any means. We need to moderate our intake of foods that are imported and foods that take a lot of resources to produce.
Well, thank you so much for this little window into the world of wartime and lessons for us today, Eleanor. Appreciate you coming in.